Okay, welcome everyone. Let's dive right in today. We're unpacking a really fascinating historical narrative. We're pulling from some pretty interesting source material commentaries connected to the Dhammapada.
That's right.
And our focus is this incredible story of Khema. She was a chief consort of King Bimbisara, and she had this life-changing encounter with the Buddha. So we'll be tracing her journey. According to these texts, it starts with her being, well, quite attached to her own beauty.
Deeply attached, yeah.
But things happen, and she moves from that focus to, profound understanding, enlightenment even.
Exactly. And our mission here really is to unpack that, not just tell the story, but what are the core insights? What's Khema's experience telling us about attachment, about reality? And crucially, what does it mean for you listening today, dealing with your own attachments, your own desires?
Right.
These sources, the commentaries, they're kind of like guides, aren't they? They help us see the deeper stuff woven into the story and the verses the Buddha spoke.
Yeah, absolutely. And get ready, because it's got some really intriguing parts. You've got this queen, famous for her looks, a king who's pretty clever,
Very clever.
an illusion, like a miracle created by the Buddha, and these really powerful verses that just seem to cut right through illusion.
It's quite a setup.
It really is.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's unpack this. The story kicks off with Khema, exceptionally beautiful, and apparently she knew it.
Oh, yeah.
The sources mentioned she'd even made spiritual aspirations in past lives, under previous Buddha, apparently.
Right, there was a background there.
But in this life, it seems like that past intention was kind of overshadowed by her focus on her looks, her physical form.
Exactly. The commentators really highlight that. Because she'd heard, that the Buddha often spoke about the downsides of physical form, its impermanence.
Oh, yeah.
She actively avoided him. She was afraid, it seems, that he'd criticize the very thing she valued most in herself. Her identity was tied up in it.
Right. That makes sense. So this is where King Bimbisara steps in. He clearly cared about her, wanted her to maybe find a deeper path. And he gets clever. He knows she won't just go if he orders her.
No, that wouldn't work.
So instead, he commissions poets, musicians, tells them to write songs praising the beauty of Veluvana, the bamboo grove.
Which just happened to be where the Buddha was staying.
Exactly. Sneaky, but effective.
Brilliant move, really. Because she hears these songs again and again, describing how gorgeous this park is. And she gets curious. Even though she probably knew the place, the descriptions made it sound new, irresistible. And she eventually says, okay, I want to go visit.
So off she goes to Veluvana. And the stories say the Buddha knew she was coming. He sensed it.
Yeah.
So while he's teaching this big crowd, he uses his abilities to manifest something.
On illusion.
An illusionary woman, of just incredible beauty, standing right there beside him, fanning him.
Wow. Okay. So Khema arrives. She walks in, sees this scene, the Buddha teaching, and next to him, this vision of beauty. And she's just stopped in her tracks, completely captivated. She thinks, hang on, people say the Buddha criticizes form, talks about its drawbacks, but look at her. Her beauty is beyond anything I can't even compare. Maybe, she thinks, maybe what they say about this teacher isn't actually true.
So she's totally hooked by the illusion, not even listening to the Dharma talk anymore.
Nope, just standing there staring, fixated.
Okay. So the Buddha sees this, right? He sees her mind is completely caught.
Yes. See, she's absorbed by this perceived beauty. And then he does the pivotal thing.
What's that?
He makes the illusion change right there, before her eyes.
Changes how?
In this moments, it goes from youth through middle age, old age, sickness, and then dissolves into just a pile of bones, a skeleton.
Whoa.
It's like a sped-up version of those contemplation practices, seeing the body's real nature.
Imagine seeing that. Something that looks so perfect, so solid, just crumble and decay instantly.
Right.
The sources say this just hits her. A profound realization washes over her. She thinks, wow, even that incredible beauty ends up like this. In just a moment, there's absolutely nothing lasting here. No real core to this physical body.
And the Buddha, sensing that shift, that flicker of understanding, he speaks directly to her insight. He says something like, Khema, you were caught up thinking there was something solid, something real, some essence in that form. Now see it. See its emptiness, its lack of substance. And then the sources say he speaks the first verse.
Okay, what was the verse?
Look, Khema. At this aggregation, it's ailing, impure, oozing, putrid, desired only by those who are unwise.
Powerful words.
Very direct.
And the impact. What do the accounts say happened then?
Right there, at the end of that single verse, she attained stream entry, first stage of awakening.
Just like that. From one verse, after seeing the illusion.
That's what the commentaries report, the critical point, right? Stream entry. That first irreversible step onto the path.
So what does that imply? What did she suddenly get?
Well, the implication is that by seeing, really seeing, even through this, let's call it accelerated demonstration, the impermanent, unsatisfying, and ultimately empty nature of physical form, the very thing she was clinging to, she cut through a fundamental layer of delusion. The delusion of a solid, lasting, truly desirable self tied up with the body. Seeing through that illusion.
Fascinating. Okay, so she's had this breakthrough. Stream entry. What happens next? Does the teaching stop there?
No. The Buddha continues. He broadens the teaching now beyond just physical form.
Okay.
He talks about how people get caught by desire, aversion, delusion, these forces. And because of these, he explains, they keep falling back into what's called the stream, which isn't the stream of awakening, but the stream of, while suffering, a cycle of craving they create themselves, like getting caught in a current.
Like a trap they make themselves.
Exactly. And to illustrate this, he speaks the second verse, and it uses this really potent analogy, which the commentaries unpack for us.
An analogy, what is it?
Those caught by desire fall back into the stream, a web spun by themselves, just like a spider in its own web. But the wise, cutting through this too, go forth, detached, abandoning all suffering.
Oh, wow. The spider web analogy. That's vivid.
Isn't it? The commentary explains it beautifully. You know how a spider spins its web, hangs out in the middle?
Yeah.
And when something gets caught, a fly or whatever, it rushes out, grabs it, consumes it, goes back to its spot. It's bound by its own creation.
Right. Trapped in its own work.
That's how the sources frame people caught by desire. We spin this web of craving around ourselves, chasing sights, sounds, feelings, ideas. We get caught in it, we suffer because of it, but we stay right there.
Right.
In the middle of our self-made trap. It's described as incredibly hard to break free from.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
But the wise, the ones with insight, they see the pattern, they understand the web for what it is.
Self-made bondage.
Exactly. Self-made bondage fueled by craving and attachment. And they cut through it. The texts say cutting this means breaking those chains of desire, of clinging.
How do they cut through?
By becoming selfless, understanding deeply that there's no permanent, unchanging self at the center of this whole experience running the show. That insight allows them to go forth.
And going forth.
Yeah.
That means reaching the final goal, right? Arhatship.
Exactly. Arhatship, the state where all the defilements, all that craving and suffering, it's all completely gone, done with, they're free, liberated.
Okay. So the Buddha gives this teaching with the spider analogy, explaining the path of the wise. And the sources say, what happened with Khema then?
Right at the end of that teaching, the one about the stream of craving, the spider's web, and the path of the wise who cut through it.
Yeah.
Khema attained arhatship, full awakening.
Wow. In a single session. From being mesmerized by beauty to full liberation.
That's the account. From seeing the illusion change, getting stream entry with the first verse to arhatship after the second teaching. It wasn't just her either. The teaching benefited the whole assembly there.
Incredible. What happened after that?
Well, the Buddha then informed King Bimbisara, Khema is ready. She can either ordain as a nun or pass away completely into final nibbana.
And the king.
He requested she ordain, become a bhikkhuni.
And she did.
She did. And the commentaries say she became one of Buddha's foremost female disciples. Renowned not for beauty anymore, but for her great wisdom.
What an amazing story. Just what a complete transformation. So let's just recap that arc. She starts out totally identified with her physical beauty.
Deeply attached.
Gets skillfully guided to the Buddha. Sees the stark impermanence of form through that powerful illusion.
Right.
Gains that crucial first insight, stream entry, hearing the truth about the body.
Yep, the first verse.
And then, by understanding the deeper nature of craving, the self-spun web, and the path of the wise to cut through it, she reaches arhatship, full liberation, becomes a top disciple.
Yeah, it really encapsulates so much. This story, pulled from these commentaries, it really distills a powerful message for all of us, doesn't it?
It really does.
It shows the danger, of getting swept away by that stream of our own making. Our desires, our perceptions, like that spider stuck in its web. But maybe more importantly, it shows the path out, the path of the wise. recognizing the bondage, seeing reality clearly, especially impermanence, letting go of the clinging, that's the way to freedom from suffering.
And it really speaks directly to how you listening, can get caught in your own versions of that web, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Every day, whether it's about looks or possessions, status, achievements, even just our own cherished opinions or feelings, we spin these webs.
And those two key moments driven by the verses,
Mm-hmm.
they seem critical. The first shatters that core illusion about the body's permanence and desirability.
Paving the way, yeah. Stream entry.
And the second tackles the engine of suffering itself, craving, and points to that selfless path to liberation.
Our headship.
Precisely. Which kind of leaves us with a final thought, maybe something for you to mull over.
If even something that seems as concrete and compelling as physical beauty, if Khema could see its impermanence, its lack of true essence, dissolve in just a moment.
Yeah, watching that illusion fade.
What does that suggest about the solidity, the real lasting value of anything else that we chase after, anything we cling to, anything we build our identity around? What else might just be another self-spun web?
That's definitely something to think about. A powerful question to leave us with. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the incredible story of Khema.